Hello. It is no exaggeration to say that we are facing the biggest threat to our island since the occupation began 80 years ago. The coronavirus has swept rapidly around the world, from China and Iran, across Asia and Europe, America and Australia, to reach into the furthest corners of the globe. And Jersey, as part of the global community, has not escaped its tentacles, and it is inevitable that COVID-19 will spread across this island. Some people who may already be suffering from other underlying medical conditions will be taken from us before their time. As our medical experts have made clear, the coronavirus cannot be stopped, but it can be slowed. And at this time of unprecedented peril to our collective health, we are taking all necessary steps so that our health service can care for those who suffer the worst effects of the infection, so we can support our island's economy, our businesses and our employees as the virus attacks our way of life. But as in 1940, this is not only a matter for the government. Taking the right actions as individuals and as a community will help to see us safely through the weeks and months ahead. Now, I want to talk to you today about what the government is doing and what we will all need to do as our lives change around us. First, it is now the right time for us to ask everyone to practice social distancing. And we've already been asking those who are aged over 65 to stay 1 metre away from other people when outside their own home. Now all islanders need to follow the same advice. And this means avoiding public gatherings if you can't maintain a safe distance, it means working from home if you can, and avoiding public transport during peak hours. It also means changing how we greet each other, avoiding handshakes, hugging and kissing. However, it does not mean staying at home. You can still go out, get fresh air, do the gardening and walk your dog along a quiet lane or on the beach. Just avoid close contact with others. And I cannot stress enough how social distancing is one of the most effective ways to reduce the rate of infection and the resulting demand on our health services. If we all adopt these practices alongside good hand washing and hygiene, the better our chances of preventing the rapid spread of the virus and protecting those who are vulnerable. Secondly, from today, anyone arriving in Jersey from anywhere in the world must now self-isolate for 14 days, regardless of whether they have any symptoms. This applies to people arriving by plane, ferry or private boat, including from the UK. This doesn't apply to essential workers, as we need them to help keep the island running, and as they are few in number, this shouldn't affect our containment strategy. We are also amending some of our laws to give the island's authorities the power to withdraw permission for large events, to shut down any public gathering that threatens the health of our community, and to enforce self-isolation, testing and contact tracing for COVID-19. These powers may seem a far cry from the way we're used to living, but this is a national emergency, and while we hope islanders will follow our advice, it is already evident that not everyone does, and we need to safeguard the more vulnerable in our community. If we were to do nothing, health experts estimate that up to half the population would contract the virus and show symptoms. Of those, 4% would need hospital care, and that's around 2,000 islanders during a 10-week period. And that is why, for example, we took the decision last week in respect to the over 65s and social distancing. So this is a mathematical estimate, not a crystal ball, but it does help us decide how best to protect islanders. And the modelling shows that effective social distancing can reduce the demand for health care so that we have the capacity to provide it. We still need everyone to practice good hygiene, washing hands regularly with soap and keeping coughs and sneezes contained. It is essential that people with fever and a dry cough stay at home and self-isolate immediately for 14 days. We ask people to travel off island only if essential for medical or compassionate purposes, or for key workers who are needed to keep essential services running. But let me make it very clear. We are not in lockdown. or confinement or island-wide quarantine. We are taking proportionate steps at the right time to contain and spread the rate of infection so that we can cope with its impacts. But these actions rely on all islanders to take heed and follow the advice. The behaviour of each and every one of us is fundamental to how well or how badly the island as a whole is protected. Now, some of you may feel you're at low risk of harm and can carry on as normal. But remember, your actions may put more vulnerable people, the elderly, and those who have underlying health issues in serious danger. You can help save lives by following this advice. Not doing so could contribute to someone's death. Now, I'll turn now to some direct action that the government has already taken to limit the spread of the virus. So on Wednesday, we announced that we would close most government schools and colleges from the 23rd of March until at least the 20th of April. Students' last day in their school or college is therefore today. This decision was made in consultation with the Medical Officer of Health and is fully supported by the Emergencies Council. The Children, Young People, Education and Skills Department will determine whether further closures are needed based on health-led advice. Parents, carers and students will be kept informed. All students affected by the school closures will be continuing their learning at home with work set by teachers. The Children, Young People, Education and Skills Department will determine whether further closures are needed based on health-led advice. Parents, carers and students will be kept informed. All students affected by the school closures will be continuing their learning at home with work set by teachers. And parents and carers have been urged to maintain social distancing for their children by restricting playdates, parties and all out-of-school activities so that they meet our guidelines. And we are working across government to see if we can organise childcare for some essential workers. I'm aware there has been criticism of the government for not closing schools earlier, but the timing of our decision was made on expert medical advice. Children and young people are among the lowest risk group in the island. So taking them out of school too early would have disrupted their education and damaged their well-being without significant health benefits for the community. It would also have kept parents at home for longer, depriving our health service, for example, of the many hundreds of staff who are also parents. I am confident that the government made the responsible and proportionate decision at the right time. The government also issued guidance this week to organisers of large public events. Many have already been cancelled. And the medical evidence is that large events and mass gatherings can significantly contribute to the spread of COVID-19, as well as adding to the pressures on our health and public services. So over the next 10 weeks, public gatherings are prohibited if they last for more than 2 days and involve 150 people or more in close contact. This, regrettably, includes the high-profile events planned for the Liberation 75 commemorations. We will keep the threshold for events under review, but it's also up to all of us as individuals to assess whether our attendance at an event will increase the risk of the disease being spread, particularly to friends and family who might be more vulnerable than us. If you have any hint of flu-like symptoms, stay at home. And the government has also announced measures to protect our economy and our people through the difficult weeks and months ahead. We have launched a package of business support worth £180 million to maintain the island's current and future economy and prosperity. We are deferring all GST payments and social security contributions from employers and employees for the next 6 months, and we are introducing loan guarantees to support business. Today, we've announced additional support for a range of business sectors, including hospitality, retail and agriculture. We are keeping supplies flowing freely by working with the island's logistics providers to create additional resilience in Jersey's supply chain. Working with Condor, we have already improved the island's freight capacity and secured an additional ship to maintain our supply chain if circumstances change. The island's telecoms providers have boosted broadband and mobile capacity for all islanders at no extra cost to ensure we can cope with a growth in home working. And we are also working with utility companies to give customers flexibility in their payment terms, including payment deferrals for people who find themselves in difficulties. These measures reflect the gravity of the situation and the government's preparedness to provide political, financial and practical support to mitigate the risks faced by our economy, our businesses and their employees. Because support for business is support for people, protecting jobs, lives and livelihoods. Now I know that is a lot to take in and it is constantly evolving. Please make sure you check the up-to-date advice through the government website, the local media, or for very urgent matters, contact the helpline on 44 55 66. Finally, I want to say a few words about our behaviours and responsibilities as a government and as islanders. So as a government, I commit to islanders that we will keep you informed, as I believe we have been doing well throughout the past weeks. Please remember that events are fast moving and we are in an unprecedented situation. We will make the decisions that are based on evidence and expert advice, not on armchair populism. And we will lead our island through these most difficult of times with steadfast determination. But this is a two-way deal. As I said at the very beginning, we are facing the biggest threat to our island since the occupation. And just as during the occupation we have a responsibility and a duty to one another, we are still in it together as one island community, so we must behave as a community and not act selfishly as individuals. This means heeding and adopting the advice about hand washing, social distancing, self-isolation and travel, because that is how we protect the most vulnerable and save lives. But it means more than that. It means thinking about family, friends, colleagues and neighbours and finding out what help they might need. It means making contact by phone or video to check on people who are in self-isolation or who actually just live alone. It means being flexible at work, perhaps doing things differently or willingly filling in for absent colleagues. And it means supporting local businesses where it is possible which badly need your custom while continuing to practice good hygiene and social distancing. And it means behaving responsibly with consideration for others when shopping in supermarkets, for example. It means only buying what you need as you normally would. It means not stockpiling for yourself, thereby depriving others of the basic essentials that they might need today. We should frankly be ashamed of ourselves at how some people are behaving in our supermarkets. And it is so unnecessary. We have no problem with supermarket supplies and we have strengthened our supply resilience. That is not how we pull together as a community in an emergency. It's how we fall apart. It is not how islanders withstood 5 years of occupation. It should not be how islanders conduct themselves today. And it is with great regret that many Liberation 75 events have had to be cancelled. But there can be no greater commemoration of those who lived through the occupation than Jersey once again coming together as one island where neighbours and strangers look out for each other and help each other throughout the difficult times that lie ahead. I've always had a strong faith in our community, voluntary and honorary spirit, and I know that by all of us diligently following that advice, we can get through this and come out stronger at the end. And that is the Jersey we should strive to be through the weeks and months to come. Thank you for listening.